Hello and welcome to the big picture. The election campaign is reaching its climax as only two more phases of polling are left to be done with. The campaign over the last week or 10 days has taken completely a personal turn with leaders of all parties attacking each other personally. Any cursory glance at the newspapers and television channels during this time will give an impression that all other issues have taken a backseat. This election, which started off as a referendum on the UPA government's 10 years in power and its achievements or failures, now seems to have completely turned into a personality war. Whether it is Narendra Modi, Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, Mulayam Singh Yadav, Lalu Yadav, Nitish Kumar, Mamta Banerjee or Jayalalitha, all of them seem to be busy discussing their rivals. In the bargain, major issues of development, economy, foreign policy are virtually not heard at all in the din. We will discuss this today, why this campaign has taken this turn and how it affects the overall scenario. To discuss this, I have with me Mohan Guruswamy, Visiting Fellow, Observer Research Foundation, Paranjoy Guha Thakurta, Senior Journalist, Vipul Mudgal, Project Director, CSDS, Brijesh Kalappa, Congress Spokesperson, and Aman Sinha, BJP Spokesperson, will be joining us soon. Welcome to all of you. Brijesh, I'm coming to you first. You know, this entire campaign has turned into a personality war. Your leaders are accusing the BJP leaders, especially the BJP leaders, and it is vice versa. Why? What has happened to all the issues which are actually facing this country and which the people would like to hear about?
You see, Girish, the country has done phenomenally well over the last 10 years. In terms of the economy, there's a huge spurt in the economy. We have now become the third largest economy in the world. And insofar as the Human Development Indexes are concerned, all parameters have been surpassed insofar as the past is concerned, because 14-15 crore people have been lifted out of poverty and so on and so forth. Now, what were the main issues which the BJP thought they could corner us with? They thought they could corner us on the issue of corruption. When they realized that there was no congressman involved in any serious act of corruption, then that issue fell down. Then what else was the BJP's main plank? Then they didn't have anything else to speak about. That's when they let these loonies called Girish Singh out, that Praveen Togadia out, and the other Mr. Kadam out. So Mr. Modi, whose model they were touting as one of the foremost models of the world, that came unstuck when people realized that this state is one of the most indebted states in the country. It's such a small state in terms of population, but it's competing with the most populous states of the nation in terms of indebtedness. Now, what really are they really speaking about? If they're speaking about a development, then they have no plank to stand on. So that's the reason the focus shifted. And then you have all these personality attacks, calling Mr. Rahul Gandhi Shehzada continuously, and making all these highly personalized attacks. So this was the very nature of Mr. Modi just waiting to come out, because he had nothing else to speak about. So this is what is now happening in the nation today.
Aman Sinha, is it that your party, which started off talking about the corruption and other things of the UPA government, has now turned to personality issues, direct attacks against the leaders of the Congress party and also other leaders like Mamta Banerjee and other leaders also? Why has this become such a personalized personality war?
Girish ji, let me say my audio is not very clear, but if I could gather correctly.
Please continue.
If you see speech of Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, in all the speech they start off by attacking Mr. Narendra Modi personally. They only keep harping about communalism and ghosts of 2002. And, then they are accusing others of not talking about development. It is we who are talking about development, price rise, corruption. And that is our main focus and main agenda. And in fact, the campaign which has been made personalized, it has been made personalized by the Congress party. They have been targeting Mr. Narendra Modi and other senior leaders of BJP personally. And that only goes on to reflect their desperation and their bankruptcy, Girish ji. And as far as we are concerned, whether it is our manifesto, whether it is speeches of our leaders, our focus is very clearly development, our focus is corruption of this government, and our focus is, price rise and how to bring, relief to people of this country.
Aman, the focus which you are talking about may be in the minds of your leaders, but it doesn't get reflected in the media or in what you people when you listen to the speeches. They're more and more they are becoming more and more personalized.
No, but
they're
Girish
becoming
ji,
more and more sharper. The language which is being
Girish ji,
used
but
is more and more.
you will acknowledge that much, that each and every speech of Mr. Modi starts and ends with development only. And what are the different modes and means, whereby one could, attain and achieve that. And whatever other, allegations that has been made, those are only allegations of corruption against, Congress leaders. They are no personal allegations.
There are no personal allegations.
But on the contrary, Mr. Modi has been under attack of the Congress leaders for more than past 12 years. And he has patiently, stood all that, withstood all that. And he has emerged stronger. But now that he is emerged stronger, Congress party feels that, it is their birthright to rule. And they feel that if somebody is emerging, they, start getting desperate and start making all kind of wild allegations.
Okay.
This is quite unfortunate.
Brijesh, would you like to react quickly before I go?
No,
the other guest?
Aman Sinha just spoke about corruption, and I don't think it strikes the BJP still that this is not going to have any electoral impact, because corruption is an issue which the Congress is not personally involved. Whether in 2G, whether in Colgate, any major issue, the Congress is not personally involved. It's not touched by corruption. So this issue of corruption, large scale, yes, corruption is not going to touch the Congress. You see, this is the problem. The BJP doesn't realize this, and they keep on going on and on about this, and the electorate is just turning away from them.
Paranjoy, how would you look at this?
Girish ji, the problem is that yes, Girish ji, just 1 minute. I just
very quickly. The other guest here also.
The problem is that our friends from Congress party are not willing to acknowledge the reality. The reality is that this has been the most corrupt regime in the Indian history.
Okay.
He is talking about Congress party Prime Minister presided over coal ministry, and coal ministry scam was worth 10 lakh crores. What is he speaking about? And it is just one instance. Whether
I hope they realize what a presumptive loss is.
Who reinducted Raja after 2G scam?
Okay.
It was Prime Minister. Everything was happening directly
to
under nose of Prime Minister.
Aman,
and all these ministries.
Aman, I'll come back to you. Aman, I'll come back to you. Aman, I'll come back to you. Paranjoy,
goes on to reflect that
Paranjoy, you think that the parties have turned this into a personal war between each other? Do you think that the issues which really concern the people have taken a back seat?
Firstly, Girish, you should not be surprised that as we come closer to the 16th of May, the level of political discourse degenerates. As both sides become desperate, they start attacking personalities. To some extent, what is truly unique about these elections is that the personalities, and in particular Mr. Narendra Modi, he has become bigger than the party itself.
Right.
I mean, for many, it's become virtually a referendum. Either you're with Mr. Modi or you are against Mr. Modi. So, the fact is, even though all political leaders of all political parties talk about issues that are supposed to matter to large numbers of people, whether it be the price of food, whether it be jobs, whether it be development, whether it be corruption, host of issues, the media tends to pick up and highlight when these personal attacks take place.
Right.
Now we also see in many other countries in the world similar personal attacks that take place. But what happens is, in the heat and dust and the hurly-burly of politics, these tend to get magnified.
Right.
So, whereas at the end of the day, irrespective of what political leaders may say about one another, the ordinary voter of this country, the ordinary people of this country, they're far, far more intelligent than you and I make them out to be. They're going to vote on issues, they're going to vote on issues that matter to them, and they're going to decide who is the lesser evil when they vote. And they surprise all of us.
Okay. Mohan, would you agree with that? That the people do not take these messages which we are seeing on the media magnified to a great extent, the personality wars which are taking place, which have completely overshadowed, at least in the media, the real issues. What would you have liked to see in
Not
these elections?
entirely. You know, both parties start off with a huge baggage and record of corruption of their own. So there's no exclusivity here. You know. They're all, as far as the general public is concerned, you know, you're in politics because you're incorrupt. You know, so there's no doubt about that. The thing is that this degeneration in this campaign didn't start 2 weeks ago. It started off with Modi right from day one. The form of addressing Rahul Gandhi as Shehzada and, you know, Bacha and, you know, Namuna, you know, various kinds of names. This is not name calling used in polite discourse. Even in a living room, you don't use it, let alone in a
Public meeting.
in a public theatre. He had begun with that. And if you go through this thing, 99 out of his 100 speeches are full of abuse, different forms of abuse. You know, there's mimicry, there's mockery, there's, you know, the tone of language, you know, there's sneering references to people, insulting references. You know, he's brought the campaign to a certain level, which no prime ministerial candidate in this country has ever spoken like this. You know, so I think, you know, there's a certain responsibility upon him, which he didn't conduct himself. He had this great chance of showing that, you know, Mr. Vajpayee, even in his angriest time, never used such language.
Right.
He was always, you know, very polite and courteous. You never saw people in the past, you know, talk like this. I've seen, you know, VP Singh never used such language with Rajiv Gandhi. Rajiv Gandhi never used it with VP Singh. But Modi brought this thing into the discourse. And I think he's solely responsible for bringing it into
reaction,
this.
the reaction.
And there's a reaction to that. There's a reaction because he's continuously going on about it, and he got this huge, you know, the way the media was organized through feed, you know, that all the TV channels were getting feeds from his camp, that, you know, they had to respond in kind. Because once the name calling starts, there's no end to it.
There's no end to it. Vipul, what are the kind of issues you think should have been at the forefront, and what Paranjoy was talking about, the media also picking and choosing things which are sensational. So do you blame, to a great extent, the media also for having, you know, degenerated the discourse?
I think the political parties to begin with. I mean, the political parties have made it a very messy election, dirty, messy, polarized election. You know, you see the kind of discourses which are going on. One is definitely a development discourse which BJP started, but never explained. What is Gujarat model was like innuendos. Yes, we've done a lot. It was never explained that, look, this is one model. This is how it works. This is how it gets people to participate, etc.
It could work at the national level.
Yeah, exactly. So it's quite it's possible, and people understand. People are very intelligent. So that was one, the development discourse that they brought in. Obviously, those who opposed it were also like opposing it tooth and nail and like, you know, threadbare everything, not really coming to the issues. Then second discourse was a communalism discourse, which I think the Congress brings to counter Modi.
Right.
And in this discourse, once again, I mean, they are also pulling punches because they don't want to annoy the Hindus. So you do soft punching, you criticize, but don't go too far and things like that. And the third discourse is the corruption discourse.
Right.
Now, this corruption discourse was brought in by the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, everybody has appropriated it. BJP is saying that we are the first one to speak about it. Congress is saying that, as we just heard, that you can't touch us. I mean, it's a hell of a claim. It's a very big claim. But, you know, I think all these things behind this, if you see constituency-wise, forget the media, what is national media showing? I believe if you go to, say, Jharkhand, where Dayamani Barla is fighting election, and you see the issues of mining versus forest dwellers, or you go to Chhattisgarh, Soni Sori, or you go to Uday Kumar in Kanyakumari, you know, the nuclear versus, I think a lot of issues, development, etc. is being discussed. But what we see in the media,
what we see in the media, especially the national media, is just this personal rivalry being, you know,
yeah, but I think it's,
and a lot of name calling.
I think it's too far and few in between these kind of
issues being discussed.
contests, you know.
But even in UP, I mean, you go to the hinterland, I mean, people are not talking about the issues that we see on television.
But, you know, but look at the kind of money which is being spent on this campaign. You know, liquor pouches being distributed. In Punjab, you know, hundreds of kilos of drugs have been seized. You know, all kinds of things happening. And this guesstimate that 10,000 crores have been spent. And you can see this you've never seen such wealth in campaigns before. You know.
Aman Sinha, all the panelists agree that it is your party which has degenerated the discourse. They are all saying that. How do you defend yourself? With the whole Mohan Guruswamy thinks that what we are seeing in this campaign is something which no prime ministerial candidate has ever indulged in.
That is absolutely incorrect to say, and unfair also on my part, of the panelists who was speaking. I could not gather who was speaking then. But let me just mention this, Girish ji, that no political leader has been criticized and scrutinized as much as Mr. Narendra Modi ji has been in past 12 years.
You think it
and
is
it
unfair?
has been the Congress propaganda.
No.
Even
Aman,
after
Aman,
getting,
Aman, you think it was very unfair? It was an unfair criticism, unfair scrutiny?
Sorry, my audio is not very clear. Can you repeat again?
No,
Girish?
was it unfair criticism? Was it unfair scrutiny? Was it something which he didn't deserve to be, scrutinized or criticized?
All that I am saying is that even though there were sharp personal attacks on Mr. Narendra Modi, not for 1 year, 2 years, but for past 12 years by the Congress party, he has withstood all that with dignity and without, losing his balance and temper. And look at how, Congress party is, reacting when there are corruption allegations against Mr. Vadra. They react in a manner as if, there were some personal allegations that somebody is making. And our discourse has always been development. Our discourse has been corruption. Our discourse has been price rise. You please see each and every speech of Mr. Narendra Modi, how much time he is giving to this and how much time Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka are giving to, attacking Mr. Narendra Modi personally, to, going back to ghost of 2002 when he has been, absolved of all charges by multiple, investigative agencies, and the matter has been scrutinized right up till to Supreme Court. But still these people keep harping on that and keep coming back with that. That only goes on to reflect their bankruptcy and the desperation that they are into today.
Okay. Brijesh, he has a point. He says that all the leaders attacking one person, despite the fact that, there has been certain amount of going on, harping about certain things. This entire focus of all the leaders of the Congress party on one person and, keeping away all the other major issues on hand. How do you defend that?
You see, Mr. Narendra Modi is the man who said, "Hum do, hamare do, unka panch, or unka 25." No, let me tell you. This is the record of the man, right? When he referred to the Chief Election Commissioner, he says James Michael Lingdo. Then I'm sure when Aman Sinha makes a comment, it's a highly sensitive, very deep and profound comment. But when the Congress makes a comment, it's a frivolous comment. But please, at least let me make the frivolous comment. Let me make the frivolous comment. I make many scurrilous comments, but please let me listen to me when I make these scurrilous comments.
You address.
So when he speaks about Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, then he says, "वो गाय और उसका बछड़ा," referring to the old Congress symbol. Then when he speaks about Musharraf, he says Mia Musharraf. When he speaks about Ahmed Patel recently, he says Mia Ahmed Patel. So this man has communalism in his blood. The man can't think beyond this. Even when he's speaking about the Bangladeshi refugees, he makes a distinction. He says, no, only the Hindu Bangladeshis are permitted, but the Muslims stay out. So is there any way in which this man can be redeemed? Can the Indian electorate or the Indian political system ever view this man as a moderate? Can they ever view this man as a moderate?
Paranjoy, where does the problem lie? You see both the Congress and the BJP candidate.
Girish, I will have to respond to that.
No,
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you, Aman. Let us get others also into the debate. Paranjoy?
See,
but
Girish,
there is only one small
this
request.
is a problem.
We are talking about maintaining some dignity and decorum in our discourse, and the kind of utterances that my friend is making.
I'm not making. I'm only repeating what Mr. Modi had made.
To get personal and describe. what
Okay.
their leaders have been saying right from Maut Ka Saudagar,
No,
to
but-
what all has been,
no, but
they have been uttering.
no, since he's
I don't
asking
want to
about
get
Maut Ka
into those
Saudagar, let me
details
tell
as-
you.
Like my Mr. friend has.
No, let me tell you what
let
happened
us
in
at
Maut Ka
least maintain
Saudagar.
some decorum in this particular
Okay,
debate.
Aman,
No, let
okay.
me
Where
just
are you
come.
drifting?
Aman, let us get...
Please,
I
no,
can
please,
give you
he
25
referred to
I
Maut
don't
Ka
want this to
Saudagar.
become a
Where all your
slanging match
leaders-
between you
We
two.
have enough of
Let
it
me
outside,
get,
yeah.
let me get
Shocking and
Paranjoy.
abusive
Aman,
language.
Aman,
I
you
don't
have
want
to
to get into that.
Aman, you have to allow others also to speak in this debate. Yes, Paranjoy.
Thank you, Girish. Thank you, Girish. Because I don't want to get into this tutu meme with our important spokespersons
This is
of our parties.
exactly what's happening in this campaign actually.
You see, this is a direct consequence of the excessive personalization of politics. This results in a sharp lowering of the quality of the discourse. You see, when Mr. Modi gets projected as a larger than life personality, and that in order to counter that, the Congress party also tries to hold up Mr. Rahul Gandhi as the hope of the youth, the future of the nation. These individuals and their personalities, I mean, they open themselves to being attacked at a personal level.
Exactly.
So that is bound to happen, and this results in the bigger issues being sidelined and pushed to the fringes.
Right.
But let me repeat once again,
Yes.
I don't think anybody is getting fooled. And that I think I have great faith in the wisdom, the sagacity of the ordinary aam admi of this country. She may be illiterate, she may be poor, but when it comes to pressing the button on that electronic voting machine, she's going to decide and nobody else will be
Okay.
able to make
Mohan.
up her mind. So I think
Okay.
all this, this kind of, the language which is used by political leaders against one another, at the end of the day, after 16th of May, they'll realize that it was just not worth it.
It's not worth it. Mohan, do you think this converting this entire election into some kind of a presidential form of election, you think that is what
That is the problem. This is supposed to be a parliamentary system of democracy with the party as the intermediate block in between. So the party is supposed to function democratically. Now all parties are not functioning democratically.
Virtually every political
all of them.
Yes.
Congress party has been seized by a family. Mulayam Singh's party has been seized. So we all know that. Now this has become truly presidential. So you're marketing one person. The media has also followed that.
Exactly.
Now, for instance, these parties came out with some kind of manifesto. Did the media ever discuss it? Was there a debate between the candidates? If you are offering yourself as prime ministerial candidates, then have a debate. Ask them to come and explain themselves. How do they propose to build 100 new cities? Where is the money coming from?
Exactly.
Where is the high-speed railway going to come from? How much will it cost? You put all these things in your plans and don't explain. And somebody else is promising something else. I remember one manifesto Congress said, in 100 days we'll do all these things.
Yes.
Roll back inflation, create jobs. How are you going to do this? What is your plan? Now, this talk of a Gujarat model, what is the model in Gujarat? Have they changed the system of government? Have they got decentralized government? Have they handed over tax collecting responsibilities to people below or spending responsibilities to people below? Have they got a new kind of civil service in place? What is this model?
So there's the
So this debate is only on totems, some symbols you create, and then you say these are the points I'm discussing.
Vipul, you think this is also the failure of the media also to have to focus itself properly on issues, and it's very much easier to focus on personalities and create this tutu my on television.
There's also lack of quality in media,
and the lack of quality is.
I think it's a politics of cockfight. I think people you come to the television studio and you know how to attack. Basically, don't take everything I say is right, and it applies to all, particularly to Congress and BJP. I think other regional parties are a lot saner. I mean, this time, when Mamata Banerjee's party, the Trinamool Congress, was really pushed to the wall, they came out and it was like you throw stones at a beehive and you get it back. It happened. But most others are a lot more restrained. I would say that behind all the issues that we mentioned earlier, in the issues of corruption, issues of governance, and a whole lot of other, even communalism, there is some kind of aspiration politics lurking behind. People are asking questions, like, if this is the model, then what about, if there is communalism, I need peace, stability to continue my business. So if behind everything, it's almost like a proxy for development, and people are restive, they are demanding more, they are wanting more, and I think that's very clear, and that is why many places you see that they are not voting the same party at center and state together.
That's
because they have different kind of aspirations in mind.
Paranjoy, I would like to come to how much do you see the media is responsible for this degeneration in the discourse?
I think the media has a very, very important role to play in the degeneration of the discourse. Television channels, newspapers, they are desperate to maximize their profits, to grab eyeballs, so that they think that all this tutu meme, this kind of slanging match which you see every evening on television, where people can't even hear what is being said because 2 or 3 people are talking simultaneously, and the end of the day the viewer is listening to nobody but just watching. I mean, so it kind of, elections become a circus, elections become a kind of a spectacle, and not as an exercise in democracy, not as an occasion where the world's largest electorate decide on who the elected representatives are going to be. So I think the media has indeed a very important role to play in lowering the quality of the political discourse.
Mohan, we haven't heard any serious discourse on foreign policy of this country by any political party.
No, we have
except
he'll throw Bangladeshis out. How is it resonating in Bangladesh?
A lot of saber rattling taking place.
How is it resonating in Bangladesh?
And also, the stated positions are so predictable that you talk about Gujarat, I talk about Delhi. You talk about Delhi, I talk about Gujarat.
You talk about 2002, I talk about 1984. So this is all set piece here. But
Aman Sinha, we have not heard any discourse from your side or even the other sides about how are you going to approach the foreign policy issues which are seriously, even when we try to hold discussions, we don't get senior leaders to come and talk about this. Even television channels like us find it difficult to get these kind of discourses going. So it has ended up being just a tooth on my mind.
For instance, the NFU. No first use has been mentioned in the manifesto.
Whenever you have your next debate on foreign policy, I assure you I'll come down, and I can also mention you one thing, that I have participated in at least half a dozen debates on manifestos. So media houses are also and media channels are also having debates, but the difficulty is that these personal allegations, they create some sensation and flurry, and people also sometimes
the problem
the media also magnifies and focuses them.
The problem,
so there is a practical problem that we all have to face. But I can assure you, as far as our party is concerned,
Brijesh,
our focus is squarely on development and corruption, on price rise. And even in your debate today, Girish ji, I have not laid down the discourse, the level of discourse. Even if my friends have called names, I have kept up, the level of the debate, and at least that much acknowledgement.
The viewers will certainly decide that. Very quickly, Brijesh, the responsibility of your party, I don't want you to talk of other parties, to keep the discourse above a certain level and bring all these issues. How much responsibility do you take on this?
The Prime Minister's office recently
or will you also blame the media for...
No, the Prime Minister's office recently had a press conference in which it was disclosed that the Prime Minister has had made 1,000 speeches in the course of his last 10 years. And how much of it really has been carried by the media? Mr. Sibal often speaks about, how media has been giving a short shrift to the developmental activities the government takes. Ultimately, bad news is always good news for the media.
Bad news is always good news. Ultimately, bad news is always good news. Unfortunately, this is what has happened during this entire campaign. We keep seeing a lot of bad news and bad words and foul abuses being, hurled at each other. Unfortunately, hopefully in the next 2 weeks or 10 days that we have left, we hopefully will see a better discourse in this country. Thanks to all my guests, Aman Sinha, Paranjoy, Guha, Thakurta, Brijesh, Kalappa. Vipul, Mudgal and Mohan Guruswamy. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on the big picture same time tomorrow.